Hi, everybody, and welcome. Ray and Steve here from the Card Historian. This is a new podcast we're going to be doing under the 90's Addict banner. We're getting some backgrounds and overlays and stuff made for it, which will be upcoming in the next week or two. But this is going to be episode one. Right now, we're calling this Counting Tracks, and it's kind of uh, very similar to an album comparison, which I'm sure many people are familiar with, but we have a really interesting take on it that Steve came up with. And we're going to talk to you about that today. And we hope you enjoy episode one. I'm going to keep the talking to a minimum, and I'm going to throw it over to Steve and let him explain what we're going to do here. Steve, how's it going, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you today?
Doing good, man. So tell us exactly what it is that we're going to be delving into here.
Okay, so what we're going to do, as you said, there's tons of album comparison videos out there. We're going to kind of do a quasi rapid fire scoring system for
Mhm.
full albums by the same band
Sure.
to give you an idea how it works. And I've seen this done in some other places, and I think it's a fair way to judge an album. Um, so you start with a base score of 0, which is like, the song's good. I like it. You give it a 1 if it's just epic and you love it, and a -1 if you could hit skip when it comes on, uh, or if you're
Fair
seeing it
enough.
in concert, go to the bathroom. Uh,
Okay. Fair
this
enough.
may, I'm sure, will cause some controversy not only amongst each other,
Yeah.
those listening, but keep in mind this is just our thoughts on these albums. We're going to do Alice in Chains today, Facelift and Dirt. Uh, Throw
I'm
in some
excited.
comments along the way. I am as well.
Yeah.
This is very much in our wheelhouse and era.
Yeah.
I hope it works. I hope people like it. They're going to tell you the
Same.
scores and see how they ended up.
Yeah, I'm excited. You mentioned this to me, and I thought this is a really cool way to kind of talk about tracks without, just going, "Oh, this is better than that," just because. So I'm really interested here. So I'll let you kick it off. We have Faceless here. We're going to start with that. That's Alice's debut album, correct?
Correct?
And so tell us a little bit about that, and tell us how we're going to be starting out here.
Okay, we're going to start out with track one, which is We Die Young,
Hmm.
um, which I think is a great way to open this album, especially for a first studio effort.
Hmm.
Um, I had seen some Alice in Chains like live stuff prior to this album coming out, but uh, it's a different sound for them, as we've
Yeah.
talked about it. It's not grunge per se. I mean, it is, but it's not. It has more of a glammy rock to the whole thing. But then there's quite a few songs that kind of hint at what's to come with Dirt and then the self-titled Alice in Chains album.
I think so too. I absolutely think so, and I think the track one, I think you just said it. I think "We Die Young" is a perfect example of that. As soon as you hear the guitar, you kind of know where they're going with dirt and stuff like that. So we're still new at this, so we may not play a lot of music or just a little bit clips here and there, just until we know what we're doing. But anybody that's familiar with that guitar, you know what's coming. The rest of the album, like Steve said, and we're going to get into, has a glammy feel, but this is definitely one of the more grungier tracks, in my opinion. And if I could be so bold as to go first, in my opinion, I would give this one a +1.
Okay.
If I were going to see them tomorrow, I'd want them to open with this song. So that's my thoughts on it.
I'm
How
in
about you?
complete concurrence with you.
Right on.
Great way to start an album. Great
Yeah,
way to start a career, as far as recordings go, and a great way to
absolutely.
be part of the grunge movement.
I agree. And it's a slamming track. I mean, it's high energy as you can tell. I mean, you're hearing it, bits and pieces obviously in the background, but I mean, it's a precursor, in my opinion, to where they're going with Dirt. Now, number two here, and I'll let you take it, but obviously everybody knows this is what put them on the map. Man in the Box.
Yeah.
To me, if I could just throw my 2 cents in about this right in the beginning, in my opinion, this is an anomaly. Even though people think this is their biggest hit, to me, this isn't what I consider Alice in Chains. So this is like Welcome to the Jungle to me. Maybe it's because I've heard it so many times, I can't like it as much anymore. I think it's a +1 just because of what it is. but it's one of those to me that it's just so overplayed. I have to skip it. So I mean, for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm going to give it a negative one. If I was going to see them in concert tomorrow, of course it would be a positive one, but that's unfortunately with Lane not a possibility these days. So
Yeah.
your thoughts?
I'm on the opposite end. I
Okay.
would give it a one for more sentimental reasons, I think, than maybe even the song itself. Seeing it
Sure.
120 minutes every weekend and just throughout the day.
Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, being in high school, it was that song that kind of hooked me into the band. So there's that nostalgia level to it. So I'm going to stick with the one. I was considering just giving it a 0 because it is very heavily played.
Yeah.
But
Even
it,
still.
you play that song to somebody that doesn't really know music, and they're going to be, "Oh, it's Man in the Box."
Oh yeah.
Plus, you have
That is
the
absolutely true.
radio edit with the spit line instead of the actual.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, I did not even, that's a very good point. That is one of the rare edits where they made a concerted effort to change the word as opposed to just make a weird bleep or something. So,
And
I mean,
actually, the radio edit is, I think, more disgusting.
you
Maybe
might
because
be
it's
right.
COVID now, like, yeah, spit's a little bit more. No, that's
Yeah.
suspect, man. I don't want nobody spitting on me.
Tomato, tomato. I suppose you're right.
Unless I'm
Absolutely.
paying for it. But, you know,
Yeah, man. Uh, so, I mean, we could do a whole episode on Man in the Box. So I'm just going to move us right along here and go ahead and start us out with CSR. Give us your thoughts on that.
I do like the song, but it's kind of neither here nor there for me.
Yeah.
I gave it a 0. It's good. Probably wouldn't skip it if I was listening to it, but
Yeah.
it's
I'm kind of with you there. I mean, you could hear it. It has a little bit of, like you said, they're not really at their grunge phase yet. They're still coming out of their kind of glammy. The lyrics are very dark,
yeah.
but it's still kind of just not exactly what I pictured Alice in Chains in my head to be, which is basically the whole Dirt album. So I take a pass on that one. That's a negative one for me, kind of all the way around. Just I don't know. Never did it for me. Just it's a cool song. It's just the vibe isn't my bag. So
The one thing that kind of drew me to it a little bit to raise it up was it does have kind of a bluesy sound to it,
sure.
which is definitely Contrell by far.
Yeah.
But
Oh
it does
yeah.
have, which kind of sets it apart from the album a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
And you know what? And that's an absolutely fair point. That is an absolutely fair point. I'm gonna let you take this next one too, just because this is my favorite song on the album. Bleed the Freak. I heard this one actually on I want to say Headbangers Ball, but it might have been the other one because it wasn't Ricky Rackman. But I remember the video was black and white because they showed the live video that they filmed at the Moore, and I was like, oh my god, is this song heavy? Like, and it was faster because at the time all they were playing was Rooster. And so I was like, oh, wow. And that's kind of what made me go back and go, oh, the rest of this album's pretty good. And I just fell in love with it. And I still listen to it to this day. I don't think they have another song on any album that sounds remotely like it. And I think it's vastly underappreciated as far as their catalog is concerned. That's just my opinion.
I agree, and I'm in the vastly underappreciated category. I skip this song every time it comes on.
Damn. I thought we were friends.
So I'm
Uh,
taking you're giving that a 1.
plus 38, plus one, plus one for sure. And yeah, that is my favorite for all the reasons mentioned, obviously. And you're the perfect example. It's not for everybody. And this is where, and I'm so happy you wanted to do this album and wanted to talk about it because this is where this album takes a turn for me. From here down, from here to the end, and it seems like it should go the opposite way. It gets more glammy from here, I think. So the next one is I Can't Remember. So tell us about that and give us your thoughts on that.
I got nothing. I don't like it. I
Okay.
mean, I try to make some notes about the songs and that, maybe have something witty to say. The vocals,
You can't remember. I get it.
yeah, the vocals are good. But if you had like someone played it right now, other
Yeah.
than me knowing that it was Alice in Chains, I wouldn't be able to pull the name out of a hat.
Yeah. Fair
So
enough.
-1.
Fair enough. I'm the same way. I'm gonna go -1. I don't hate it, but it's so dark and it's so another one that's bluesy with a little bit of piano that it's not something that I could bang my head to. It's not a ballad. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, and it's dark and weird, which a lot of Alice's stuff is, and that's why I love it. This one is just not, like you said, it's not my thing. And it sounds like it's not yours either. I wish I had something wittier to say, but I, like you, it's just kind of a filler track for me.
I'll say this: I'll take Skid Row and I Will Remember You over this song. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I just destroyed a friendship.
Well, normally I would
Just
say
song to
yes,
song, not
but
band to band, just song to song.
okay. Now you may have. Now you may have. Uh, but because I love Skid Row, but yeah, I could see that, but it just never caught on to me. And I consider myself a diehard Alice fan. And when we get to Nirvana and stuff, I know you're a pretty diehard Nirvana guy. Of the two, because I don't know, it wasn't so much a thing when I was a teenager because the time had already kind of come and gone. But I was always Team Alice as opposed to Team Nirvana. I liked them both. I loved them both, but I was always Alice over Nirvana. How about you?
Kind of the opposite, which is making
Yeah,
this really interesting.
yeah, and that's what, and I love that because you know, contrarian opinions are just what makes stuff interesting. So, speaking of uninteresting, and this is another one where I lump this in with I can't remember love, hate, love. I like this one better, so I'll give this one a 0 because I'll definitely listen to it if it's on. I wouldn't take a bathroom break if they played it in concert, but again, it's not one where I'm going to be like, I have to hear this if I go to an Alice show. So, your thoughts?
I'm a little bit ahead of you with giving it a 1, but I want to explain why.
Sure.
I caught a video on YouTube of an early version, I think even before the album came out.
Okay.
It's in black and white.
Mhm.
And I don't, it's just something captivating about the performance. It's like some deranged angel
Hmm.
singing. And
That's
it's
great.
such a dark song. Like I'll peel off your skin and wear it as my
Yeah.
it's a love song, which is what I like about it. It really is. He wrote it for his girlfriend, and they were kind of off and on. That's the name of the
Yeah.
place. But
Yeah.
yeah, that for some reason though, that video just makes me like, yeah, I'll listen to this when it comes on.
Yeah. And even like I'm just listening to it a little bit in the background now. Like I just said that and I'm already changing my mind a little bit because the guitar groove gets you. I mean, it gets me. It's understated, but it goes with the lyrics, or the lyrics go with the guitar. Maybe the other way around. I don't know, but there's the Hannibal Lecter line, as I call it. But it's really a dark song, but like you said, and I know I'm changing my opinion, it's dark, but in the opposite of I can't remember. It's dark in a way that I want to hear more of it. I want to hear it more often, and I like the guitar in it a lot better. It's a lot heavier than like I can't remember with the piano and all that kind of stuff. So that's about what I'll say. I'll keep my score what it was for continuity's sake, but that is definitely a sleeper, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, definitely look up that video.
I will.
You
I
can't miss
definitely
it because,
will.
like I said, shot in black and white.
Mhm.
Um, just a tour video, but yeah.
Yeah. So now, tell it now? I'll let you take this next one because you know my thoughts on this one, and I know yours. So you start out with this. It ain't like that is track number 7.
I think It Ain't Like That is one of the primary songs on this album that shows what Dirt was going to become. And for that reason, I like it.
And you know what? I'm in 100% agreement with you. I never thought of it as a precursor to Dirt. It never sounded like that to me per se. I could see that absolutely. I liked it just because it was heavy, but it's just that wah, 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 that wangy guitar is just like so like I just want to punch somebody when I hear it. I don't know. Like it just gets me fired up, like in a good way. Like, you want to go out and have a good time or, you know, whatever. And then, it's very menacing. It sounds like somebody's walkout music at like a UFC.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's rad. I will give it a +1 all day +1. And I will share a very short story. The one time I'll admit to watching a Nickelback video was a live version where they invited Jerry on stage and they played this. And watching him play the guitar, watching Chad Kroeger sing, was the one time I was able to keep my food down watching Nickelback. And that's saying something.
That says a lot.
Yeah, and it was great. It was freaking great because they played it in the same key, at the same tempo, and Chad Kroeger, if he wants to do grunge, I mean, they could very easily endear themselves if they would change their sound to hair, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'll get off my soapbox with that. But it is absolutely my number two on the album for sure. And I love that you said it's a precursor to Dirt because I literally never thought of it that way. And I'm starting to hear it now. Now that you said that, I'm starting to hear it.
It could be on Dirt. Honestly, it really could.
I'm definitely with you now that you said that's a really, really good point. And I just want to stop here for one quick second, if I could, and just interject. One of the reasons that you and I wanted to do this was just because all the album clash things that we know of or that we've seen on other shows or other podcasts, it's this track versus this track and this track versus that track. And you can do that, and that's cool, but that's not really talking about the album. That's comparing a song to another song. So when you came up with this idea, I thought, well, this is going to be really good because it'll at least give people a reason to go back and listen to the deeper cuts, which is what I wanted to do, which is what I think we're doing, and I love that. And because I mean, how often do you hear songs like "It Ain't Like That" talked about when people are talking about Alice in Chains? Like never. And so I'm really happy that we're doing this, and hopefully anybody that listens to this, go back and listen to this album. I know you're only hearing clips of it in the background, and Steve and I are talking over it, but I'm telling you, if you're even a Fairweather fan, this whole album is worth a listen. The whole album. But again, this is definitely, maybe with the exception of this last one, these next two or three is really where it starts to get glammy for me. This next one is probably my least favorite. Tell me your thoughts on Sunshine.
Okay, so this one threw me for a loop when I first heard it. I wasn't expecting rap.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I'm giving it a 0 for balls.
Okay.
To throw this in the last quarter of the album, I mean, maybe they only had 12 songs ready to go. I don't know, but it's different. I think it's probably different than anything else on the album.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I wouldn't be like mad if they started playing it in a concert.
No, it's I'm thinking I'm with you. I'm gonna give it a 0. I wouldn't go out of my way for it, but if they played it, I would absolutely want to hear it. I'm one of those guys though that I like to hear the deeper cuts just because. And I think one of the things we're doing by talking about this is hopefully people will realize bands like this and take grunge out of it, but usually when bands their first one or two albums, that's what makes you. And people know the hits, sure. Like you said, I Remember You from Skid Row. Their second album was twice as good.
Yeah.
And nobody cares.
Nope.
Not anymore. And but the fans that know the songs, they know what albums they're on. And I'll tell you what, for the first couple of years I was an Alice fan, I didn't know Man in the Box was on this album. because Man in the Box doesn't sound anything like anything else on this album, and neither does Sunshine, which is, I guess, what partly makes it cool. But I'm gonna stick with 0 on Sunshine. I agree with you. It takes balls. I think I would have left it as a B side in my opinion. So, but that being said, track number 9 I think is in the same vein, but I feel a little differently about it. Track number 9 is Put You Down.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on Put You Down.
Yeah, oddly enough, and in preparation for this, I've listened to both of these albums a lot the past week. For some reason, and this could just be me, this song sounds too damn clean. I hope that makes sense. It doesn't. There's no. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'm giving it a 0. Okay. It just seems like too. I don't want to say overproduced because that's not it. It's just too song. Like it's Alice in Chains. It's clearly Alice in Chains, but it just has, compared to everything else, this like super just tidy bowl man clean sound to it.
Yeah.
That to me just, it doesn't fit.
No, I'm with you, and I agree with you. I don't know. Now that you said that, that's a really good point. I don't know how I would describe it because I don't know. It's definitely not all glam, but it's glammy. So I mean, yeah, it's different. To me it sounds like their version of 80s hair metal. Like it's their attempt to try to, like, in 1989 get that hair metal audience, because the whole chorus where he's put you down, 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 like that's all 80s hair metal, that alliteration and all that stuff. But like the chorus, the lyrics are still dark as hell, and it's still, you know where it's going, but it's different. It's glammy. I'm gonna give it a 0 because if I was standing there, I'd want to hear it, but I could absolutely see why it's not one that people talk about from Alice all that often, for sure. In my opinion, I didn't do enough research prior to this, and that's my own fault. But just being a diehard fan, I'm pretty sure most of this is right. A lot of these were glammy demos that they grunged up a lot to even put on here, because I had heard some of them previously, and they are, even before Jerry was playing guitar, and they're way off what they sound like here even. So I don't think Jerry Cantrell gets enough credit. I think he gets a lot of credit as a great guitar player. I still think he's way underrated at that, but I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for the sound. Everybody thinks Lane's the sound because he writes the lyrics, but Jerry wrote the majority of the songs. Like, yeah, Lane wrote the lyrics, but all the music was Jerry's, and towards the end, a lot of the lyrics were Jerry's.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, but that's another one of my tangents.
I think it's just a perfect combination of Lane's voice and Jerry's guitar. Yeah. Honestly, not to go back to it, but like Love, Hate, Love, I think shows that. You have this dark, droning guitar in the background with all these little runs going on with these demented lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
Being sung by Lane up front. Like, maybe this doesn't work with 2 other people or a different guitar player even.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You're right. I agree with you there. I absolutely agree with you. So next, now this is the track on the album I always kind of forget about. So I'm going to give it like a -1 just because of that. Confusion is what we're talking about, track 10. So I don't have a lot to say about it because it's just, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's never stuck out enough to me to really pay that much attention to it. So I'm going to say -1. What's your thoughts on Confusion?
I gave Confusion a 1. From a musical standpoint and playing musical instruments throughout my life, I love when a band, especially even in a studio setting, can kind of break down 3/4 of the way through the song and kind of deconstruct it and then bring it back, which the song does.
Yeah.
It's not a huge reason to really like it, but
yeah,
I do like just part of it, you know, especially getting near the end of an album.
I could absolutely understand. I absolutely agree with you there. And I will say the one part I really do like, and it's just not. Maybe it's the title. There's something I just don't remember. It's just it slips my memory constantly, but it gets really heavy at the end, like
Yeah, after
really
that
heavy.
breakdown, it comes back like a
Yeah,
dragon.
and
Yeah, I just
and I forget about that a lot, and it's much better than I'm giving it credit for. But I'm the one that's this is the whole point of this podcast. This is what I'm guilty of. This one goes over my head for whatever reason, but this is definitely one that people should go back and check out from what you're saying. Um, you know,
I think so. People may disagree. Feel
absolutely.
free to comment, make fun of me. I don't care. I could take it.
Yeah, go right ahead. You'd be wrong because Alex is awesome. But yeah, we welcome any and all feedback. Absolutely. So the next one here, we're into the home stretch. We got the last two here. We're at about 25 minutes, so I think we'll be able to get this in here. But this one is pure cheese glam, in my opinion. I like it though. I like it. I know something about you. Uh, this was clearly when they were trying to be a glam band, and grunge was not even in the wheelhouse of ideas, in my opinion. Even the lyrics don't sound like them. I'll still give it a +1 just because I like it. For some reason, it caught me, and I admit I still put this on and listen to it. What are your thoughts? I'm interested on this one because this one, I probably said this about every track already. This one really is an anomaly because this one feels like pure glam to me. Like
No,
they're
it
not even trying anything else.
truly does. I think before I say what score I'm going to give it, in the 90s and just coming out of high school and not having a lot of money, I didn't get a lot of these albums chronologically.
Sure.
So I was already knee deep in grunge
Hmm.
when I got Facelift. I already had Dirt and I picked up Facelift.
Same.
It didn't stick. I have to give it a -1.
Okay.
It was just the grunge sound was too ingrained at
I can
that
see
point
that.
that I'll definitely give it another listen though. I like what you said about it,
Yeah.
and
It's catchy. It is catchy. And
anything that'll get me to listen to a song again with a different set of eyes, I'm all for it.
heck yeah, man. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. And so far I think we're doing that. So bring us home, number 12. This is another one. It's just it gets lost on me, even though I'm a diehard. So tell us about Real Thing. That's the closer for
I can't
Facelift.
tell you anything about it. uh, again, I do think it kind of had that. Here's what we're going to be doing. Here's the
Oh
direction
yeah.
we're going in. So I gave it a 0.
Yep.
Not as much as other songs we talked about, but yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know. And usually songs at the end of albums tend to stick with me personally.
Yeah.
Openers and closers on whether it be a concert or an album tend to stick with me the most. And it's there.
Yeah.
I just personally think they could have closed it with a better track from the album, but it's still a
Oh
fun
yeah.
band.
No, I agree. I'm gonna give it a 0. I'm gonna give it a 0. I like it because I think you're 100% right. The lyrics are clearly pointing to where they're going. The music is not, but it's not a memorable closer. You're right. I think the album could have been sequenced a little differently, and maybe this song could have caught on a little bit better. But I think other songs like Confusion or even Love Hate Love would be much better closers than Real Thing. But it's still absolutely worth a listen. I'm going to stick with 0. You're keeping tally of the scores here, so I don't know where we're at with that. You want to give us an update where we stand, comparison
You'll be a
wise?
little shocked here. So overall, we have
Yeah.
graded Facelift. I gave Facelift a 2.
Okay.
You gave it a 1.
Oh,
That's
so I
not a
suck.
bad thing.
Apparently, it is. It's less than 2. It's
I mean,
more than
because we're
0.
well, it's just it basically reflects our personal opinions on the album at
Fair
this
enough.
moment.
Yeah.
It's not negative.
No,
You
that's
know,
true.
I don't think any album we would review would ever be negative unless we tried to on purpose. Um,
Yeah, who knows? I'm an idiot. We may do that just to be funny one day. Pick albums we hate. But yeah, you're right. I love the fact that we have differing opinions. So just to re-explain to everybody, myself included, we're doing zero if it's kind of a bathroom break kind of, or excuse me, -1 if it's kind of like a bathroom break kind of song. Zero if it's like I'll take it or leave it, but if they're playing and I'll stay and I'm listening, and +1 if it's one of your jams. Essentially, is that about right?
Exactly right.
Okay, so essentially, then you're ahead of me, meaning, i.e., I mean, your positive scores outweigh mine a little bit, which is awesome. When it may be different when we get to dirt. That is going to be episode 2, by the way, which you guys will see. We're gonna release these ones, unlike the card historian, which we do weekly. This one I'm gonna release the first 2 immediately because we're gonna do another one right after this. I'm not going to give too much away. We'll let Steve talk about it in episode 2, but they go together, so it'll make a lot more sense. So we hope you guys enjoyed this. This is really Alice in Chains. This is not really, is it actually is their first debut album. This came out in 1990, if I recall, and they had an EP out before this that had a song on it called "Fear the Voices," which was really, really good, which I think should have made this album. But overall, I think this album is really cool. I just don't think it's their defining album, although it has their defining song on it. Your thoughts on Facelift?
I agree entirely, but it's a hell of a first effort.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I can't say nothing bad about it. I mean, I was just
No.
looking at the numbers, and funny enough, and this was completely not even planned.
Mhm.
Love, hate, love made the difference between our scores.
That's
My
awesome.
sentimental of liking, this video, I gave it a 1, you
Mhm.
gave it a 0,
Right.
and we ended up, 2-1 as far as this goes. And we'll keep the tally going when we go into
Yeah, man.
some more
All right. So
episodes.
Steve's ahead of by 1 for now. For now. For now. I'm going to give everything a +1 on the next one we do, so I'm guaranteed a victory. Just so we know, spoiler. No, I'm just kidding. But this was really, really cool. And anybody that watches this, honestly, even if you're not a grunge fan, if you know Alice in Chains just because you know Man in the Box, go ahead and listen to it. It's worth a listen. I don't know that it has the whole album length on here, or if it does, I can't see it, but it can't be more than 30, 40 minutes. It's not a long album. As you can see, the longest track is 5.5 minutes. Most of them are 3.5, 4 minutes. It is absolutely worth a listen. And, hopefully everybody got something out of this, much like Steve said with the scores. +1, -1, 0, depending on where we like it, dislike it, comment, give us some constructive criticism, give us a thumbs up, say, hey, I agree. We're open to everything. We're just, we're happy people are listening to us, and we hope you guys enjoyed this. For Steve, I'm Ray. This is episode 1 of Counting Tracks, and we will be back with episode 2. We'll see you next time, everybody.
I really